And sometimes it's difficult to look at the big picture and try to determine what the solution is. But if we, like in math, reduce it all the way down to its lowest common denominator, and that's us, it's easier to pinpoint the actual issues. You can't ignore them. It's easier to ignore issues on the larger the scale. Issues can be in hiding. But you can't very well hide when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. Okay. And so it's a lot easier to justify our inabilities, our issues, our weaknesses as individuals when we're focusing on the ills of others. Okay. And so we see this in politics especially, and we see it in religion as well, where we can point our fingers at and ridicule and ostracize others outside of our group for whatever their ills are, whatever their situations in life are, whatever their differences are from us, and all the while ignore our own. It's interesting, the numbers have come out on the January 6th rioters. This is not a political message, it's a human message. And so many of them were pardoned, but only to turn around and commit more serious crimes, even abuse crimes and murder even. Because many of them are, some of them have passed away, and some of them are actually back in prison. Okay. So these folks had issues about themselves prior to January 6th. But January 6th then was kind of a rallying point for some of these individuals with obvious dysfunctions in order to focus on something else outside of themselves. And what happens in most of our cases, when the dust settles and the smoke clears, what we're left with is who we actually are. And we realize, well, or we choose not to realize, but the reality is our issues have not been dealt with. And I believe this is a human trait. It allows us to take the heat off of ourselves for a while when situations come up that allow us to be distracted from tending to our own issues, our own needs, okay? I think issues is a better word than needs. And we go unfixed. And so we look at our situation in this nation today, politically and from a religious perspective, and we are very divided. I mean, our nation is primarily divided into two camps for politics, Democrats and Republicans. The religions are primarily Christianity, Islam, Judaism in the United States. And so there's a tremendous divide. And to be quite honest, folks, proclaiming that this is a Christian nation, and the Christians and anti-Muslim and anti-Sharia and all this stuff, or even anti-Jew, especially with these, with the billions of dollars the war with Iran has been costing, and even the lives lost. But how easy it is to ridicule someone else when really we're so similar in that we all have our issues. Like for religion, for example, most of the people proclaiming that this is a Christian nation really aren't following the tenets of Christ, because if they would, they wouldn't be proclaiming this a Christian nation. And so we find familiar and easy ways to grasp on and hold on to our ills. There's an old saying that evil only prevails when good men do nothing. So why would good men do nothing? Okay. I would like to tool that a little bit, adjust it a little bit to evil only prevails when good men do evil. Why would good men do evil? Good men do evil so to fill a part of the group, not to feel ostracized by the crowd, They may not even enjoy what they're perpetrating against the folks that are being ostracized, but they would rather be these folks than those folks over there. And so they join the group. Fear. Fear of being found out. We all know who we are actually. You know, they say there's like everyone is three different people. The person that they allow everyone to see, or the person they allow their significant other to see, and thirdly, and probably more accurately, the way they see themselves. Okay, and the way we see ourselves, we hardly want anyone else to see, because we recognize we're not like anyone else. And the truth is, no one is like anyone else. We're like the snowflakes. Not the snowflakes from the political perspective as being soft, but the snowflakes from the scientific perspective of being different. But we don't like being different, because being different moves us into a place where we expose our weaknesses, or our perceived weaknesses. But what I'm suggesting today is exposing one's weakness is really creating a strength in oneself. It takes strength to be vulnerable. It takes strength to expose your weakness. Why? Because as we're surrounded by weak people, they will ostracize us because of the weakness, when in fact this is sort of a natural mechanism to survive. You know, when you go back and look at early men, it was very difficult to survive outside of the group. Survival depended on being a part of the group, because in strength there are in numbers there is a strength. And so if you found yourself separated from the group, especially in trying times and in times of inclement weather, or animals, wild animals, or even enemies, of your clan or of your group, when you're on your own, there was a tremendous vulnerability, okay? And so although we're not really in those same type situations today, we've maintained that mindset that I must be a part of the group, because not being a part of the group, I'm vulnerable. And what I'm suggesting today is being part of a group is a negative motivation, because it prevents us from being as strong as we can be. And that's why we so often we don't achieve the places we ordinarily could achieve, because we're with the group. You can't move faster than the group. You're moving along with the group. You might have tremendous potential, but as you attach yourself to the group, your potential is being lost, okay? And so that's what I'm seeing in our communities today. That's what I'm seeing in our families, in our communities, in our nations, and in the world, is that folks are attaching themselves to the group, and it's sort of stymieing their potential for progress and for being better than they are. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how do we free ourselves. We want to free ourselves. We have a tendency, and again I think it's part of that early man survival, is not to show our weaknesses. If you have an enemy, if you're fighting an animal, or if you're fighting elements, or whatever it is you're fighting, you don't want to show your weakness. You don't want to show your bad side, your weak side. You want to exhibit the strength. But see, in modern times today, that is not a recipe for climbing out of the pit, out of the mire, and that we're in, to a place of success. You have to focus on your weaknesses. And then shore them up. We already know what we know. we got our strong legs, now we got to be working on our upper body, or vice versa. Or maybe we have a good health, but our education is lacking. And especially our historical education, which is very important. But as far as our business education and other types of education, is very important. It's very important not to neglect an area of weakness. We're already strong in our area of strength. But it creates that vulnerability, That's the only answer to our issues. Because the reality is, in this nation, let's talk to black folks, or to Native Americans, or anybody that's feeling displaced or ostracized in our communities. And I want to share with you that you are your own worst enemy. See what we do oftentimes, and it's the same kind of concept as far as of covering up our weaknesses, is the accusation, the accusing fingers that we have. It's this person's fault, it's that person's fault, that group's fault, this group's fault, and all that. There is no wellness in that. There is no progress in that. And I'm speaking to black people today, but to all people, but specifically for this conversation to help bring the point in, using black people. As you begin to focus on other people as being the culprit, as the reason for your issue, you're never going to come out of your issue. Why? Because those people are never going to do right. You can sit back on social media all you want and call these people out for saying this, for doing this, for acting like this, whatever they're doing. But and that's going to sort of validate you in a sense that you've gotten to identify an evil person. But come on now, evil people have been on this planet from the beginning. Cain and Abel, right? Identifying Cain's evil did not bring Abel back to life. It doesn't work that way. The only way that you can be well is by dealing with your own issue and stop trying to blame someone else. Now, don't get me wrong. There are culprits out there. The black condition in America, the Native American condition in America, even the Latino condition in America, those that are coming into our nation overthrew their governments. Our nation took over their governments, took over their industries. Thriving nations, thriving economies and populations, we decided we had a vested interest over there. Our government, our businesses, our CIA, for whatever reason, maybe some of the reasons were legitimate. But then when we left their infrastructure, their economy in shambles. Anarchy arose. And now those nations are dangerous, and people in those nations are fleeing those countries, coming to our country, and we're saying to come here illegally. But we disposed of their healthy economies and infrastructures illegally. They're leaving because the house has crashed in as a result of our antics. So there we go. We have created the issues in so many folks' lives, but I like to look at the Latinos, like especially Mexicans coming over to our nation, the hardest working folks I have ever seen. And trying to work, trying to keep under the radar, keep to themselves, but make that money. That's the answer. That's the key. And the key is figuring out what you need to do to be well despite the circumstances that may not be your doing that you've been placed in, and still becoming successful. There's something about maybe homegrown issues and ills that sort of have placated us into simply believing that this is just simply the way life is. That's a culprit, that's a culprit, that's a culprit. Pointing out all the culprits and not moving anywhere. And I want to suggest that as many people have complained about the immigrants coming over our southern border, what I want to suggest is when you compare the number of immigrants coming over our southern border compared to the number of people that did not leave their nations, it's a small fraction of people that have been coming to this nation. Because most of the people in other nations, even nations whose economies and infrastructures have crumbled, they're like us. It's easier just to sit back, suffer with the consequences, blame someone else and not improve your situation. But the people we see coming over the borders here, as much as we want to criticize them and demonize them, we got to realize those are the ones that says, no, we cannot live like this. We got to get something better. And we're going to the United States. So take yourself out of the United States position and put yourself in their position. What would you do? Would you be like the masses of people that just stay there and live in that mess? Or would you be trying to pick up yourself and your children and your family members and get out of there and find somewhere where you can survive and prosper and do well? And so this is not a political message, but I wanted you to take that concept because we know the answer. Yeah, we'd leave. We wouldn't settle for that. It'd be easy just to sit back and say, oh, woe is me, I didn't create this, and just go on and go to sleep, wake up, and just continue the process. But to get up and get out, pay enormous amount of money to unsavory folks, and sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't, but you're not settling for where you're at. What I'm suggesting is that mindset is the attitude everyone here needs to have. Do not settle for your situation if it's subpar. And when I see people, that are not taking care of their bodies, that are not exercising, that are not eating healthy, and then they get sick. And then once they get sick, they decide, well, maybe I better exercise, maybe I better eat healthy. But it's too late. For many of them now, we're taking medicine and drugs for the rest of our lives, When all it took was as a little gumption to get up, to recognize our weaknesses, and figure out a plan and walk it out. I'm telling you, man. That's it. That's what. I was a destructive man. I was a happy man living a destructive life. Come on now. If you're just eating everything you want to, everything that tastes good, every sweet, anything, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever, all the things that create all that stuff, man, that's living. You get to eat good stuff, good tasting stuff every day. You don't have to exert yourself or work out. You're just sitting around, laying around every day. Come on now. That feels good for the moment, but it's a weakness and it's destruction. And really, all we're really doing those things is simply ignoring the realities about our weaknesses, and sort of strengthening strengthening our area that is not weak, and that's our palate, or a desire for leisure and all that, man. No, man, we are our own worst enemies. So we can't point our fingers at anybody. They may be the reason why we're here, why we got here, but we are the reason why we're staying here. And that's why I get fed up. I came up in the 70s, a young man, junior high school. I joined the military in 1976. In the 70s, on the heels of the Black Panther and the Black Power movement, my heroes, Stokely Carmichael, Edward Cleaver, Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, George Jackson, Angela Davis, Kathleen Cleaver, all these folks were my heroes. And so I have a different attitude about being well, about being strong, and about sitting around waiting for somebody else to do it for you. It's not going to happen. The people around you that would take joy or take comfort in your illness are people who are less than you. And when I say less than you, I don't mean inherently as a human being, but I mean usually less educated. The people that are out there saying, you need to speak English, this is America. Those people probably just speak one language. And so it intimidates them when they see someone speaking two. You're in America, you should be speaking English. Why, man? I've lived in Europe for 5 years. In the military, I was stationed in Asia. When I was out with my buddies in the communities, in the towns and all, we spoke English when we were with each other. No, man, that's ridiculous. You're in another nation. It doesn't matter what nation you're in, whatever you are. If you're with your friends and you have a common tongue, you speak the language that is common and comfortable to you. But the people that take issue with that are usually the uneducated people that can only speak one language, and that's why they're mad. Come on now, you got to realize that the people that you're pointing fingers at, the people that you're blaming for the situation, and look what they said, look what they did, and all this, you see it all on social media all the time. I get sick of it, of my brothers and my sisters pointing at all. Why are you worrying about what people say about you? Now, if I worry about what that man says about me, then I exalt that man above me to where his opinion about me matters. But if someone says something about me who is less than me, whose opinion doesn't matter, why am I getting mad? So if I'm getting mad, it's because I see their opinion of me being valid, and it hurts my feelings. You ain't got time to have your feelings hurt. What are you doing to get yourself out that hole you're in? Quit complaining about other people, man. Get busy. Man, I'm in pretty good health now. For going to be 68 years old in this year, 2026. And I came up as a kid where our parents really didn't have all the numbers, didn't have all the studies, all the realities about how bad the foods were that we were eating, how they were so bad for us, and they were feeding us everything, man. My mother would bring home cream horns and donuts and ice cream and soda and all the stuff, chips and all the stuff that we also ate healthy. And we did have dinner every night at 6 o'clock, and it was a healthy meal. But outside of dinner, we were eating everything, okay? Because but we know better now, okay? And so now many of us are suffering from issues, from habits that we inherited from childhood that we're still perpetrating upon ourselves today. We're eating unhealthy, we're not exercising, we're out of shape, diabetes, high blood pressure. We're blaming it on family, heredity and all. No, man, it's not heredity. What it is what we've inherited are the same traits, the same eating habits, the same lack of exercise. That's what we've inherited from our previous generations, and so we're suffering through the same kind of illnesses, not because it's genetically, within us, but because our habits, our physical habits are the same, okay? So I'm just suggesting very strongly that the culprit is us. And at any time we can pull ourselves out of this hole. So the point is, I ate all unhealthy, all of my life coming up. But then there came a point in my life when I decided, I need to start taking care of myself. And I have to admit, I was about in my 30s. I started taking care of myself. And I exercise and I eat healthy. When I was 50, I was like, man, I got a high school diploma. Barack Obama was younger than me, had a Harvard education, a Harvard attorney, was senator from Chicago, and now president, and I had a high school diploma. I went to school. 2009, January. 10 years later, I earned my associate degree, bachelor's degree, and my MBA. What I'm suggesting is that nobody was holding me back but me. Okay. I find really interesting and troubling, kind of funny sometimes, is how black people can look at Obama and say he never did anything for black people. As if we're still feeling ourselves in a place where somebody has to do something for us in order for us to be well. That's that ability to point at somebody else is the reason why. Now Obama's the reason why I'm in the position I'm in, because he didn't do anything for me. Well, I'll tell you what Obama did for me. He inspired me. This young brother, a Harvard education, I had a high school diploma. I went to school 50 years old. By the time I was 60, I had those 3 degrees. And guess what? I missed half a quarter in 10 years. I didn't stop. And the point I'm making is that if I can do it from age 50 to 60, if you're 40 to 50, or 30 to 40, or 20 to 30, you can do it too. Quit sitting around blaming people for your lot in life. Get up, figure it out, and make a move. I know it's kind of hard because we've been brainwashed to be in the position we're in today, to believe the lot in life is my lot in life, and just not to actually try to better ourselves. I see it even with the gang situation that we have in our major cities, that this is just the life. We can get so caught up in what we believe is proper existence, so we can just be destroying ourselves and each other. So we really are not in a position to say, even as black people in this nation, that it's the white folks. No, they are the reason why we're in this position. How we got here, right? In more ways than one. But the fact that we're still here in a negative situation in life, it's on us. There needs to be a focus on how do we get out of this mess. And what I'm suggesting is possible. But now let me give you the hard part. The hardest part is you got to stop getting that buzz. Weed is not going to help you. It's going to harm you. Alcohol isn't going to help you. There's a scriptural relationship that to alcohol to human beings. It gives us to understand that wine, which is pretty much analogous of the buzz, wine is a mocker. Now, what does that mean? Wine is a mocker. Mocking is laughing at you. Wine is a mocker. That means wine or weed or the buzz, it gets you to do things or not to do the things you need to do or do things you shouldn't be doing. And finally you get yourself so entwined in negativity, so jammed up that when the buzz wears off, you're stuck. And that's where many of us are in life. Most of us are in life. It allows us an easier way not to see our weaknesses. It allows us an easier way not to be so upset with a lot of our lives. I've been there. I know this. I am weed free, alcohol free. Don't do that stuff. because it clouds the thinking. It placates the minds. It satisfies you in a situation that is not potentially that is not motivating to move yourself towards your potential. So if what I'm giving you today is then it's on you. It's on us. We're the ones responsible. See, it's really not condemning for us. It's not partially condemning if I'm blaming somebody else for the hole that I'm in. Okay? But when I realize that all I need to do is get up. Oh, there's a ladder over there? Let me set it up. Oh, there's a rope over there? Let me throw it up there and climb up out of this hole. But the problem is when we got that buzz, or when we're pointing at someone else as the culprit to our negative situation, we're not seeing the opportunities that are around us to get ourselves out of the mess that we're in. And so we just stay here. We stay here, we complain, and that's it. And guess what? The people in this nation, for black people especially, the people that are ridiculing you the most, the people that really got on the bandwagon and they're making fun of you, talking about you. You see them talking about Michelle Obama, talking about, a nice lady, hasn't hurt anyone, always doing good for folks, creating a garden, creating an attitude of good health for young people and all. A good person. Ragging on her. Why? Because it gets the focus off of their own issue. And we bite into it. And then we get caught up in that and forget our mission. Our mission is not to fight those unnecessary battles. Our mission is to fight the battle between ourselves of doing and not doing what we need to do to be well. And it's very important. Because those people that are disparaging us, those are the people that speak one language, remember? The people that are disparaging people who speak two languages for not speaking English, those are the people that only have the capability, only have the education, the intellect to speak one language. So it's BS. And so they're attacking folks, and then the folks are guarding and trying to fight back and protect themselves when really what you're fighting is an individual that's weak, that is less intelligent than you, that is less educated than you. And so they are throwing rocks at you, trying to get you to respond in that way rather than continue progressing based on the motivation that you have, based on the education and the strengths that you have. And I have. And I'll tell you what, why it's so important? It's important because of the next generation. See, we might be relegated. Look, when I got my associate degree, my bachelor's degree, and my MBA, by the time I got that MBA, I was 60, okay? So I was very limited. I already had a good job, blue-collar type job, a mailman, for like 30-some years now. I think it was about 20 years then, 25 years at the time. That I was limited on what I could use that MBA for, in a sense, okay? That I couldn't find a job as, really an accountant or functioning within that degree, because most jobs were looking for people that had the degree, but they also wanted with that degree the experience. Okay, so all I had was the degree. And so I limited myself because of the time it took. So the longer you wait, the less opportunities you'll have because of the sacrifices that you make, in a sense. It's sort of like investing in the stock market. If you begin, as you know, investing when you're young, and you're 18 years old and continuous all the way up until your 60s, you're going to be loaded by the time you hit my age, okay? But if you start investing when you're like age 50 to 60, you're not going to have that much, okay? So the education, the earlier, the better. But still, do it. You can do it. But it might be too late for us. I've written books on relationships. I've written so many books. They're all on Amazon. I've written books on relationships. I talk to people who might be in their 50s and 60s or whatever. And this is the revelation to why your marriage jacked up or something like that, right? And it might be too late for you to get the full benefit out of it if I had only had this revelation when I was 20 type thing. But there are 20-year-olds following up behind us. So it may be too late, some of the things for us, but it's not too late for these young people. And if we could be the examples, my exercising every day, pretty much, my health, my eating healthy and all that stuff. I look at my kids, man, my son is ripped. He runs Reebok challenges. He's muscular, lifts weight, works out every day. My daughter, she's running like 5Ks and half marathons, and now she's working on a full marathon to run in a few months. What I'm saying is, I've never done the things that they've done. But I've been the example. I've been the example for them. My son is a college graduate, University of Cincinnati. My daughter is at an HBCU, getting ready to be a senior and then going into law school. So although I never attained what they've attained, well, my son, I do have an MBA, but he graduated from UC with a bachelor's degree the same year I graduated from Sinclair College, which is an associate degree. So in his mind, he is better than me, I guess. But then I continued on, okay, to the bachelor's degree, to the MBA. So my daughter coming up, watching me study all the time, so much, every day, all day, 10 years. She's reaching heights higher than I ever reached. So that's the key, is that we may not be able to totally benefit, from the change of mind, the change of heart, beginning to show up our weaknesses and all. But to be the example to our children of what life is supposed to be like, it's priceless. Okay. So I have somebody I know that I work with, a black man. I'm ex-Air Force, he's ex-Navy, and I heard him say once, I don't see why black people are saving up their money just to pass on to their children. They should just be spending all their money. That's like that guy that can speak only one language. He's ridiculing folks for doing what he failed to do in life. First of all, don't let those type people affect you. Okay? You stay the course. That's a naval term. Stay the course. Get a plan. Create a plan. Walk it out. I don't care what the storms, I don't care the fog or the rough waters or whatever it is you're dealing with. Stay the course. Stay the course. Don't let people that are less than you ridicule you. That's what I found, as I consider myself a businessman, but my wife is really a businesswoman, but I've called my investments and things like that, decisions I make, business moves. But what I found is that you hardly get ridicule from other business people. And the reason is because a business person recognizes that even though the business is struggling or maybe halfway successful or very successful, a business person knows that the drop of a hat, a wrong attitude, a mistake or an error or whatever, even on somebody else's part that might be working for you, could derail your entire business. And so nobody's out here trying to ridicule other people who are trying to build their business because they're too busy focusing on their own business. And it's like a tightrope, it's like fragile. Everybody's business is, and we're working it, trying to make it work, make it happen. But you very rarely find business people, right-minded business people, that are ridiculing other business people. That is, unless they're the competition. They have an ulterior motive. But for real, because they know how fragile their journey is. In business, there's potential for great reward, but there's also great risk. And so nobody has time to be ridiculing other people who are trying to better themselves. The only people you're going to find ridiculing you are people who are less than you. Okay? And then we might even break that down to may not necessarily be financially less than you, but intellectually less than you. Maybe not intellectually less than you, but morally less than you. Okay? The point is, don't worry about people who are less than you. Quit worrying about what people are saying about you. The racist comments. They're just trying to get, a rise out of you. Quit giving them what they're looking for. You just keep speaking your two languages. I'm telling you, it's an effect. Man, so when I graduated, when I decided to go to school, back in 2009, after Obama became president, it was announced in November 2008, on my birthday, November 11th, I decided I was not only going to go to school, I was going to be speaking another language, I was going to learn another language, and I decided to learn Arabic, Egyptian Arabic. And I've been working on that for years. And what's interesting is I started my daughter speaking Mandarin Chinese when she was in the 3rd grade. She was in a very good school, MVS, the Miami Valley School, in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio. And she picked up languages so well. So a few years later, when I'm studying Arabic, she is listening to me. And she picked up that Arabic quicker than me because her mind was tuned toward learning languages. And so just the other day, now she's 21, and I'm going to be 68. And I said something in Arabic, I said something about أنا بتكلم عربي شوية مش كويس أوي. And she was like, "And بتتكلم عربي?" She was like, came back and spoke Arabic perfect. And I didn't, the point I'm making is, the kids are watching you. The kids are learning from you. And the kids will surpass you, and that's what you want. So although certain things may be too late for our lives to utilize because we waited, we partied so long, that's why we impart into our children. Don't do what I did. That's why as adults with children and grandchildren, don't smoke weed, don't drink alcohol, don't be partying your life and your money away. Be exercising, be eating healthy, take care of yourselves because you are the example of this young person. It may be too late for you, but it's not too late for them. Don't be crying and complaining, woe is me about the white man and all these things that just don't work and Obama didn't help and all this stuff. Make it work. Figure out a plan. Walk it out. With AI at your fingertips, there is no reason for anyone to be substandard. You go to AI, ChatGPT, and give them your situation. Well, what can I do to be successful? It'll give you step-by-step plan on getting out the hole you're in. And you'll be an example to your kids. But the first thing you do is stop smoking weed, stop drinking alcohol, stop being unhealthy, stop being lazy. You gotta work, gotta have a job, gotta make money legally. Take care of yourselves. We are our own worst enemy, and that goes across the board for everyone. Now, of course, there are evil culprits. We see what's going on with Iran right now, them being bombed and having done nothing, being killed. We see perpetrators. See, this is very easy for us to do as well. We see Israel, in a sense, just hurting people everywhere. And then you go back to World War II and the Holocaust and how they were hurt. and you think somebody that was injured like that in such a terrible and heinous way as the Holocaust would come out with an extreme empathy and heart for anybody that's suffering. You wouldn't believe that they themselves would be the perpetrators, even worse perpetrators than the ills that were perpetrated against them. But they are. But that's a whole new, different story. The point is, get yourself well. Don't be harsh. Don't be mean to other people. Because we do reap what we sow. And this is what I want to close with. This all comes together. This one guy talked to me, said, "Jarvis, you're just all over the place." Yeah, but if I could bring it all in together at the end, then I accomplished my goal. The reality is when we want to be well, we have to recognize that there's this concept called sowing and reaping. You call it karma, secular, you can call it chickens coming home to roost. What goes around comes around. And a lot of our suffering is a direct result of the actions that we are taking in our lives. And in order to get ourselves out of the hole we're in, as we are committing negative acts and against other folks, we're just digging ourselves deeper and deeper. We're just not getting out. And so what I'm suggesting is we need to be careful about what we are doing, what we are perpetrating against other people, but as well what we affiliate ourselves with. Because if we are a nation, or if we are a political party, or if we're a religious organization that is hurting other people, we will suffer the consequences. And we wonder why we're suffering. And this is why we're reaping what we've sown. That's why I tip well. That's why I try to be good to people. I try to share the best that I have, knowledge, insight, understanding with folks, because I know that I'll be reaping that back. And so then whatever you need, whether it's a business, whether it's education, whether it's good health, whether it's healthy kids, everything is the concept of sowing and reaping. See, one of the issues I think we have in our world today is trying to separate spirituality from science. But what I'm suggesting is spiritual. You are spiritual. Come on now. You're spiritual because your body is not you. You are the animated part, that part that's communicating, that's listening, that's hearing, that's thinking. I think, therefore I am, as Descartes, famously once said. And so we are spiritual. But why don't I take it a step further and say that everything on this planet is spiritual? Everything is spiritual. Because it's all catered for us. And so I know it's catered for our physical bodies, but who was making the decisions? Who was the thinking, the thought part, the comfortable part, the uncomfortable part, the angry part, the happy part? All that stuff, that's the spiritual, that's us. So then the laws that we are governed by then, what I want to suggest then, our laws are spiritual. I want to say that really anything that you can't see is spiritual. Like intentions are spiritual, emotions are spiritual, feelings, all that stuff, spiritual. And so we have certain laws that are spiritual. Laws like gravity. You can't see it, but you can see the result of it. Kinetic energy. You can't see it. You can see the result. Centrifugal force. You can't see it, but you can see the result. What sowing and reaping, what goes around comes around. You can't see it, but you can see the result. What I'm saying is every law on this planet is spiritual. The scientists and the religious folks have put in that line there and said, no, this is science and this is spirituality. No, it's all spirituality. And it's all science. It's all one and the same. So recognize that your actions have a direct result in the realities of your life. So just begin to be good. You know, we started when evil only prevails when good men do nothing. Why would good men do nothing? And evil only prevails when good men do evil. Why would good men do evil? Begin to challenge yourself. Ask yourself that. Look at the things that you bought into. Are they good or are they evil? Look at the organizations that you've affiliated yourself with. Are they happy or are they sad? Are they mad? Are they angry? Come on, man. That's the litmus test of the organization that you belong to. Are they mad? Are they angry? Or are they happy? Be happy. And dig yourself out of that hole. Well, anyway, I want to thank you once again for joining me for another perspective. And I want to invite you to join me again. Take care. Bye.